Okay, so this afternoon you probably know or heard about the DAISY Consortium, which is working on accessibility. If you don't know it, then I think you should open a window on it and look at it carefully. And we have Romain Deltour that will be presenting on behalf of DAISY Consortium work on XProc and ebook, you know, and there is a lot of information around EPUB those days, so we let Romain do this presentation.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to talk about our own experience of using XProc at the heart of an ebook production framework. So my name is Romain Deltour. I'm working as a software developer for the DAISY Consortium, which is a global not-for-profit organization working towards the best way to read and publish since the late 90s. So I'm going to first give a brief overview of the context of our work. So the DAISY Consortium envisions a world where people with print disabilities have equal access to information without delay and without additional expense. Of course, it's a challenging situation, and we are engaged in development of applications, tools, educational efforts, and we developed several standards for digital talking books. And more recently, we are working hand in hand with the IDPF, which is responsible for the EPUB 3 standard. And it's now endorsed as the recommended standard for distributing accessible content. So as we focused on, as we are focusing on inclusive publishing, it means that we have to target people that read with eyes, ears, and also fingers using Braille. It also means that publishers have to face an increasing numbers of different devices, be it tablets, laptops, portable players, Braille with refreshable displays. And to answer these different needs, one of the best approach is the single source publishing, in which you use a master XML document that you later convert on demand, possibly in different production formats, consumption formats. More often than not, though, publishers have to face with different kind of input document formats. So it's quite of a complex system, and I'm going to talk about our approach in dealing with that. So in a more down-to-the-earth language, what we want to do is to convert a set of input XML documents into a set of output XML documents. So XProc, the XProc language, is really a perfect fit for the situation. So yeah, pipeline systems can get quite complex. The more document formats you have to deal with, the more complex. And I bet you don't want to be the plumber that has to fix this thing, right? So fortunately, we've known since the last, since a few decades that modules can help. And well, I'm going to show you how we did some little plumbing around XProc to try and modularize an XProc-based system. So the basic principles behind modules are pretty simple. We don't want any static bindings in terms of XML. That means that we don't want one module to reference another module with relative URIs. A module must be able to declare its public components that can be used by other modules. And modules must be able to encapsulate the internal components. And we also need some kind of dependency management to be able to declare the dependencies from one module to another. So concretely, what we did in our system is that we're relying on Oasis XML catalogs to describe the public components of a module. Basically, we have a special catalog file in a special location in our package, and this catalog file describes that this module has a public component defined by this public absolute URI, and it matches this internal component using a relative URI. We also have another metadata file that declares the module unique identifier, versions, and dependencies. We are using, as we are developing a Java-based application, we are using OSGI as the underlying module system. So all our module features, like all our module characteristics, are defined in this OSGI metadata file. How it works internally is that in our middleware, we have a shared URI resolver which listens to all these modules coming in the system and registers the catalogs to be able to resolve the URIs. So this URI resolver is then sent to Saxon and Calabash, and so when a module calls another with a public URI, the URI resolution is done and the right component from the dependent module is called. So that was for the basic principles of the module system. Now I'm going to briefly describe how we extended upon XProc to do what we needed to do. So again, the system can be quite complex, but usually this user interface must be much more simple, right? So I'm going to talk about what we can do what we can add to XProc to make this kind of simple user interface possible. The first thing is that users do not have to be aware of all the different XProc scripts that belong to the system. So we have a way to add some metadata to identify only the XProc scripts that are top-level user-oriented scripts. Along with this identification metadata, we also add some user-friendly documentation and also machine-readable metadata to the user-oriented scripts. So and all this is using vanilla XProc, I mean built-in XProc extension facilities. So here I'm showing how we use a P documentation standard XProc element to contain this script documentation, and that is the information that will be displayed to the user in a user interface. We also add some semantic annotations with this PX row attribute, but we could fairly well use RDFA or other semantic annotations to make this kind of user documentation machine readable to be able to be extracted by your system. We also add some typing information to the XProc signatures. So here I'm showing a part of a signature of a pipeline which has an input port and an option, and we add this typing info. So the option here is declared as a Boolean. The input port is declared as accepting XML documents. And this is useful, for instance, in a user interface when you want to dynamically create a user interface as the front end of this XProc script. You can have like special widgets for this kind of input. So this option here would be mapped by a checkbox widget, for instance. We also want to sometimes hide some idiosyncrasies of XProc. So for instance, I'm showing two pipelines here, pipeline A and pipeline B. And the first one is a pipeline that has an input port and an output port producing a single XML document. In the second pipeline, it has the same input port, but it doesn't have an output port. It has an option which must be a URI. And later on in the pipeline, we use this option to store directly within the script the result document on the file system. But for the user, these two pipelines are identical because what the user wants, he wants to provide an input document and write an output document. He doesn't care, he doesn't know what is an output port, what is an option, right? So for our system to kind of hide these details, these specifics, we add again an annotation as an extension attribute, px output equal result, and then the system will know that this option string specifies a result URI, and then it will be stored somewhere in the system. So to summarize, what we do beyond XProc to better integrate it in a user-oriented system is that we identify the top-level scripts that the user will directly manipulate. We add some user-oriented metadata, again with the native P documentation element of XProc. And we add typing information to the XProc signature that helps with creating tailored user interface for the XProc script. And we kind of hide the XProc specifics. Now I'm gonna talk about a little tips and best practices that we found based on our experience in using XProc. The first one is that we found that it's always really useful and convenient to use intermediary document formats along in the workflow. So we are typically using that to represent file sets. As I said, we want to convert an XML document into an ebook, and an ebook usually is not a single XML document. It's really a file set. It contains several XML documents, non-XML documents, images, CSS files, and whatnot. And XProc can only manipulate XML documents. So what we do to work around with it is that we have our own XML representation of a file set. Basically, it's a collection of URIs. So when we want to extract this and that document of this abstract file set representation, we just look at this intermediary file set format and use the URI to get the right file. So I'm showing here an example of this file set intermediary XML document. So it's a very basic structure. We opted for a flat file set representation, and the file set can specify the base URI, the base directory of the content, and then all the URIs of the documents of this file set relative to this base. We add some media type information because we find it useful in some of our conversions. And what's interesting with this kind of XML representation is that it's the only thing we need to really work with complex file set structures within XProc. It's really useful to work around the purely XML nature of XProc. It's also useful because we have an entire set of utilities to be able to manipulate these file sets, like merging file sets, extracting a file from a file set, storing directly in memory result documents to these URIs described here in this file set. So we have a bunch of utilities which leverage this format. And it brings me to the next tip or best practice is to when you want to deal with file sets and concepts like that, it's really useful to rely on base URIs. And that's one of the greatest useful feature of XProc. It's based on an XML model which has so any document that flows through a pipeline, an XProc pipeline, has a base URI. So be it in memory or stored on file, we can know the document is identified by this base URI. So we can use it to create different set of manipulations, to be able to store an in-memory document to its base URI, to be able to, for instance, load a document from the default collection in an XSLT, these kind of things. So we really heavily use base URI manipulation within our XProc scripts. And the last but not least tip is to use XProc as an orchestration technology. We found that it's not really easy to use XProc as a one-size-fits-all language, and it doesn't make sense to use it for it. It's not been made for that. It's really been made to organize different other XML technologies. So you have really to leverage the entire XML stack and not only use XProc because someone like me says it's cool. So basically we have a bunch of XSLTs. We don't have XQuery yet, but we could have some XQuery steps. We have some steps that are implemented as custom extension steps. And we use XProc to glue them together. We don't do hardcore processing, hardcore XML manipulation within XProc. So again, a summary of these tips. Use intermediary formats. It's particularly useful for manipulating file sets, but it's useful for really many other things. One example that comes to mind is that we're developing we intend to develop some scripts that will generate an audio book using text-to-speech speech synthesis and receiving an XML document as input. So basically what we will do is we will convert this XML input document into another intermediary document which is an SSML, synthetic speech language, and then we'll send this SSML document into a document that will generate the audio using text-to-speech engines. It's another case where intermediary formats are really useful. Second tip, rely on base URIs. Third tip, modularize your workflow as much as possible. XProc is used as an orchestration technology, so that means that you don't have to have this 1,000 and more lines of XSLT style sheet. You can try to modularize the different steps of your processing and glue them together with XProc. And finally, of course, leverage the entire XML stack. It's really I think the XML manipulation really shines because there are different technologies that are tailored to different tasks, and XProc can glue them together. So a little wish list in the end. So as you know, the next version of XProc is being discussed by the XProc working group, and they already have a really great list of proposals and features. That's just my personal wish list on top of what they already plan. So that doesn't represent the XProc v2 new features. What I kind of find a bit frustrating when developing XProc is that I cannot really leverage, I cannot use XPath as much as I would like to. I cannot define XPath extension functions within XProc. So when I want to call an XPath function, I have to call a special XSLT for that, or I need to implement this XPath function in Java as a processor-specific function. I cannot define functions in XProc. That would be nice. I find that sometimes the base URI manipulation is lacking some features, or for instance, when you declare an inline document within XProc, there is no way to set the base URI explicitly of this document. Sometimes it would be helpful. I would like to have a step, for instance, to set the base URI on the document, not only its roots document element. That's minor things, but still. And the third item on this wish list is to be able to access readable ports from within XPath to be slightly convenient. So it comes with its technical difficulties compared to the current XProc model, so I won't dive into the details, but as a user of XProc, it would be nice. And the topmost item on my wish list is for people to join the community, really. The XProc mailing list is quite active and responsive. If you have any kind of questions, ask it on the XProc dev mailing list, and people will answer. Feel free to share some XML snippets to share XML, enter the XProcathon, and join us on this cool community. So that's it. Thank you for your attention. If you have any kind of questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
So, is there any questions on that topic? Yes, I see a hand here. Okay.
What kind of XProc engine did you use?
I'm using Calabash, Norman Welch's Calabash.
And which version?
1.0.8.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other question? We have a few minutes left. Okay.
There's one over there.
Oh. Sorry, I don't see. Oh yeah, okay. Wojciech.
I'm afraid.
Thank you, it was a nice presentation. I have one question. So you said that you use OSGI in the beginning. So what exactly do you use it for? For resolving the XProc imports, or that you deploy the various libraries or pipelines as OSGI bundles, so you can dynamically
So yeah, I didn't really dive into the details, but well, first, the reason why we are using OSGI is that we are using Java-based software. So we already decided to use OSGI even before thinking about the XProc module system, right? And what we do use OSGI for is to organize the modules of our middleware, pure Java, and then within XProc, we use it to declare the dependencies between the modules, and we also use OSGI as a service platform. So we have another bunch of files generated at build time that I've not talked about, which kind of create and declare services for each of these top-level user-oriented scripts. So basically, when a module enters a system, it will enter the system as a service, an OSGI service that can be listened to and registered dynamically. So our system is kind of dynamic, and we're using OSGI also for its dynamic features. When the system is running, you can add a new module, and without restarting the entire system, the module will be registered. You can update modules, these kind of features.
Okay.
I can show you the specific details after if you want.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Any other question? So I have a remark to do is on the presentation, because you're contributing to share XML to the XProcathon that we started yesterday.
Yeah, not personally, but
yeah, I mean the project is contributing, so it's a very good thing. So if you are looking more in details of what is available, you have GitHub, and you can also see that during the last 24 hours. They have also contributed to the XAR project from Florent and Georges, so there is also other places where you could look at this work. Thank you.